6:03, and Pam, could we get a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Gary Tenenbaum,
Here.
Bill Infante,
Here.
Katie Schwer,
Here.
Ryan Slack,
Here.
Jennifer Riffle,
Present.
Auden Schendler,
Here.
Mayor Whitsitt.
Here.
Thank you.
Full
All
team.
present and
Yes.
accounted for.
Okay, thank you, Grassroots, for being here and broadcasting our meeting for the dental floss. If you're not watching this meeting live, you can watch it later at grassrootstv.org. And our videographer and dental floss doctor is Ryan O'Donnell. There is a mayor's coffee tomorrow at CC's from 8 to 8:30. I will be there. Might you be there? Might the chief be there? I didn't ask him out there. Please feel free to come over. Oh, this is a note to me, all right? So our consent agenda looks like it only has the minutes on it. If there's no questions, is there a motion? Or if there's questions, let them begin.
Mayor, I move the town council approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second? Anybody?
Second, I'm paying attention.
Thank you. All in favor?
I'll abstain, I was out.
I was
Oh,
gonna do the
okay,
same.
you're both gone. Okay, thanks, guys. It's time for our call to the public. People who have comments regarding items that are not on the agenda. We'd love to have you come up and share those ideas, comments with us for up to 3 minutes. Just identify yourself and keep them limited. Is there anybody who has comments for items not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Let's see. If you don't have food in your mouth, would you read the Basalt isn't inclusive?
Where is that?
It's on the very front page of
Basalt's an
this.
inclusive, sustainable mountain community that boasts both historic charm and progressive vision. It is an engaging place to live, work, and play while offering an abundance of creative, professional, educational, and recreational outlets.
Nice job, thank you. Kay, let's see, is there anything else? Okay, how about mayor and council reports and comments? Anything that struck you since our last meeting that you want to tell us about? Meetings you attended or anything? Jen?
I would like to put a dump truck of gratitude for NRCS, or
NRCS, you got it.
And Ryan and our SGM consulting for responding so quick to improving the Cedar and Pinion intersection, and the communication throughout the neighborhood and the people that have been affected has just been above and beyond and fantastic, and really recognized, and a lot of people in the neighborhood do. So there's a lot of gratitude, and citizens are feeling the love. Aww.
We love when people
Great.
feel love.
Yeah.
Others? Okay, well, I have a quick one. I did attend the Colorado Association of Ski Towns meeting. It was in Frisco this last Thursday and Friday. They talked about a number of things. And the stuff that was not very boring was they talked about the Copper guy, the Copper Mountain Resort, I don't know what that's called, Copper Mountain Resort, was there and talked about all the development that they're doing at Copper, which is huge. There's a lot of it. But one of the things they're doing is, of course, Skiko housing at the base of their mountain there. And I asked him specifically what the split was on, because he said that they were doing Skiko and community housing, and he said the split is gonna be 75-25 Skiko. And then if the Skiko employees don't fill up, then there will be additional housing for community workers. Summit County, this was interesting. Somebody also mentioned from Summit County that their requirements for housing is 40%, which, what is ours?
It depends what it is.
Okay, whatever. So I thought that was huge, and they said that the Skiko went over that, so in their entire development. Then they talked about the census, but they didn't really talk about the high-level policy issues of why are we doing the census, so I wish you know, we could have somebody come in and talk about that a little more as it gets closer about why it's important that we count people. I know it's about money and policy and politics and everything, but they did not cover that. So that's all I have. Anybody's last chance? Okay. Ryan Mahoney,
Yeah.
it's your opportunity to tell us something.
Great. I do have a couple things for you. I'll start off with Jen's comment with regard to the Hills District and sort of what we're doing there. Yesterday, I spent some time with NRCS and the engineer again down sort of at the bottom on Frying Pan Road. So we're doing a design now to figure out once water comes off the hill, it's got to go somewhere. So we're working on that now. I did put a call into the contractor that we'll have working, and he basically echoed the same thing that we heard, or that I heard yesterday from the engineer, is that we think they'll be out
But thank you.
probably next week to start construction, and they'll start up at the top at Cedar and Pinion and do some corrections there with the drainage, and then follow that drainage down. We've got one private property owner along the drainage that we met with last week and talked to them about improvements on their land. And then, like I said, chasing it down to Two Rivers Road and ultimately into the Frying Pan River. So, so that's progressing. You know, I think over the next, it'll take a few weeks to do the first part of the project. So they'll probably be up there for a month. It is going to create some traffic issues up there. They'll be flagging, but you know, it's just sort of the nature of the beast. We're going to be working right in the roadway. So, so that's where we are with that. The second thing of note that I've been trying to keep you guys abreast on is the testing out at the shooting range for lead. And we did get, you know, I've been talking to CPW and then, of course, the state through CDPHE, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. You know, they were notified of a, you know, potential issue there by a citizen. And so they are now waiting for a plan to land on their desk from CPW. And then they'll review the plan, the testing plan, to determine if it, you know, meets the requirements and the scope and all of that stuff, and then they'll proceed. So CPW is going, they're using a private firm, is my understanding, to do the work. And as it states, as it is now, they, in discussion with Matt Yamashita last week, they have their person, you know, working toward delivering that plan. So it's in the works officially now. So I think that's a good thing. We did also get a question from a couple folks that the range was still shut, and why was it still shut? They're doing electric work up there. So there was some electrical lines that were buried in that roadway that eroded away when it flooded, and they didn't want to have anybody out there. Just it posed some danger, and so they will be reopening it, but they have to finish that work first. And so
Were they like hot to where you could get electrocuted?
yeah, I mean, they were exposed. I mean, they were, you know, sheathed, but
Right.
you know, they still didn't want to take any chances. So they had to get it back to the proper bury depth and such.
Yeah, Gary.
Did CPW ever respond to our letter?
No, not officially.
Okay.
Only discussions with Matt on, you know, progress with the testing and such, but not as far as hours and that kind of thing.
I think we're gonna have to make another stab at that one.
Yeah. Who did
Because we
we,
need to get a response, and
Yeah.
if it's not gonna get one from like JT, then we need to go up the ladder.
Yeah.
Did you have some?
We would have had one by now if that was the case.
I was just gonna ask who we copied on this as well, because it should be head of DNR.
We did.
Now if CDPHE is involved, I'd get them involved, every one of our state senators at the state level as well as the federal level, and, you know, catch their attention. Because I don't think JT is gonna pay a whole lot of attention to us if it's us.
Yeah.
If it's Corey Gardner or Michael Bennett giving him a call saying, what the hell are you doing? Then it might be a bigger issue.
Yeah, I think we did our state reps, head of DNR, JT, Matt Yamashita,
I copy the world.
And I don't think I did Senator Bennett or Gardner. So, anyway, thanks, we can follow up on that. But I do have more.
I know.
CML is having their district meeting up in Snowmass. It's just an evening meeting for a few hours. And that's on September 12th, so that's a Thursday. It's usually a good time to get an update from them, and they talk a little bit about the upcoming legislative session and things they see on the horizon. It's a good chance to get together with your other elected officials from Aspen and Snowmass and Carbondale, most likely, as well as even down in Glenwood. So I went last year, and it was pretty well attended.
When is
pretty
it
fun.
again?
September 12th.
Okay.
So if you'd let me or Pam know, we'll get you signed up. And it's usually in the evening. It doesn't say on this, but it's usually like a 6 to 8 type of meeting, and they feed you.
Okay.
And then the last thing I wanted to ask you all about, we have put out a request on some of our committees looking for folks, and I don't believe, we actually went back and watched the video on when we discussed this last, and we had not totally clear direction on what you wanted to do as far as a committee of council to choose our potential committee members. And so, you know, the idea was either to do a subcommittee of council that would review the applications, they could interview folks and make a recommendation, or, as we have been doing, bring those folks in front of the entire council, either in a work session or, you know, regular session, and kind of go through the same process. So at that meeting, you know, I think from Katie, Jen, and Gary, you all seem to be fairly aligned. Mayor, you were out of town because Gary was running the meeting.
Didn't sound familiar.
And so we just wanted to revisit that because we have some interested folks for committees, and just kind of get that direction from you. The one nice thing about all of you doing it is that you all get a chance to see that person and ask questions, and you know, decide if you personally think they're a good fit. Versus on the committee, you may not get that, or may not get the ability to meet them because you don't always interface with everybody in the committee. So thoughts and
So, here's my
direction
thought.
for us?
Was I the only one not here?
I think
No, there
I don't remember.
was, I don't know.
Doesn't sound familiar to me.
Doesn't sound
Okay.
familiar.
Yeah, I'm not remember. I don't
It was a
remember.
very small contest.
Yeah.
It was a pretty tight
There were
meeting.
like
So
4 of us.
Okay, so
That might be
somebody
right.
who had a thought, could you sort of put your thought out there so that the rest of us who weren't here?
I do remember. So it was the way that we used to do it, the way that the town has done it since I've been on council, and that was that there was a subcommittee of 3 counselors who would interview, either if you couldn't be in person, call in and meet with the interested parties, and then discuss, and then come to council and make recommendations.
To make recommendation to the council
Correct.
regarding, and then not have them come in, or have them come in
And then not have them come in.
until the selection was over?
Correct.
Okay, all right, so there's that idea. Other idea? Any other idea?
I don't know why
Or-
we don't delegate selection to the committee itself and let them identify their top candidate or top 2, and we interview the top 2, but I don't see that I would be particularly interested in interviewing any large number of candidates for any committee.
But you're not really on board with a subcommittee bringing a recommendation to the council?
If a group of counselors want to do that, that's great, but I don't know why we don't delegate that authority to the committee itself, whether it's BPAC or Green Team or one of
I
the others.
don't think we can.
Yeah, we have to appoint them.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I know that, but they can identify their top 2. They interview however many, and they recommend 2 or 3.
So a partial delegation to where
Well,
these,
no, I
yeah.
don't wanna, that, he's delegating it to the committees to choose it, right?
no, he's saying bring back 2.
Saying bring back 2 or 3.
But the committees are doing that, not council.
Correct.
I personally rather have council be the ones to appoint it and not
We will,
have them deal with the, I don't want our committees to have to deal with applicants. I'd rather, because the applicants in the end, it could get really messy if they choose some people we don't like. I think it would be easier for us just to appoint a smaller committee of council people to vet, 2 or 3, and then bring.
Okay, I guess I'm misunderstanding. So you were suggesting that the existing committee, be it post or whatever, interview the people.
right,
Okay,
you get
I-
12 applicants for a position. The
right,
committee interviews, selects 3.
Yeah.
They present the 3 to council, council
yeah,
makes a decision.
okay. I get what you're saying, yes.
One thing, and because I don't have the full history of our committees, is most of the time, we don't get like a huge plethora of people that we have to vet, so it's like onesies, twosies, and so I think, it's almost like whoever applies can get on, you just wanna make sure that they're the right fit and they're there for the right reasons and, that sort of thing, so.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that, on the sort of the culling of the herd, if you will, it isn't as much of a thing for
Okay.
for us.
Auden, where are you on this?
I support that direction.
Okay, Katie?
What direction?
Which direction?
That's our problem.
Good
Are you an attorney?
You got me. I defer to the people who were present at the time. I don't feel strongly on this one.
Okay.
Subcommittee,
Subcommittee of us.
yes.
Brian?
I feel like these committees are volunteer committees, and if people want to volunteer for them, we should let them volunteer for them. It
What we're
shouldn't.
saying is sometimes there are more than one though, for one spot.
Yeah.
Are all our committees full right now?
You do need to
No.
make decisions.
You
and-
have to
I
make
understand. So I think the whole council should make the decision.
Oh,
Because I think certain
that's
council
different.
members might not like certain people, and they wouldn't like them on certain things, and so I think everyone should vote on
All the time.
it, all the time.
Okay, is there a motion somewhere in
Wait,
this?
can I get a little clarity on that?
Yes, sir.
I think ultimately, the subcommittee would bring the recommendation back to the entire council to vote on.
Yeah.
Just like we do for the grants, just like we do for the events at the Roaring Fork Club, so it would kind of play like that, in essence.
But you said there's not that many people applying, so.
No,
most
that's true,
committees,
for most
not-
committees,
yeah.
that's true.
Right, so
Not every committee.
is it really worth, how many committees do you have that you really need to call 1 or 2 people to the council?
Not many.
Well, why did this come
Well,
up
just
if
bring
there
it all
wasn't
up.
a question?
Because I think it got brought up by council members,
Okay.
like, should we do the whole council or a subcommittee?
Well, because we
Okay,
had a
onesies.
We had a set protocol and then it changed without having discussion with the council. And so that's where we're coming back to giving the town manager direction as far as the protocol of how it's going to move forward.
Okay, Susan?
I don't think I have anything to add. I'm trying to clarify somebody had said.
Are you trying to
You're
say
as
like,
bad as I am.
I was gonna say that was an oddnism?
Yeah.
Yes.
Having been on the subcommittee of selection, it is a more comfortable situation to have these citizens come in and not be in the public spotlight and sit down and have just a group conversation. And you are allowed more time and a comfort level. Whereas a lot of citizens don't have public speaking, camera, the whole horseshoe, Auden's point, it's a different feeling.
And they would end up here anyway, so, okay,
But only because they're recommended. I mean,
Right, I understand.
It pulls away some vulnerability that some people might have of coming here and maybe being rejected publicly versus that not ever being a thing.
okay, we're ready for a motion.
You know what?
Well, 3 of us are interested in the subcommittees. Are you
Oh, I
still
don't
in?
care. I mean, really, truly,
We need a
we
motion
don't
so
have
that
that many
council, so
people,
that staff is not
I mean, it
confused
just
about
doesn't
this.
matter.
I motion that we establish a subcommittee to interview as needed candidates for committees.
And then,
And then it'll come to council
Make
for
an advisory.
ratification.
Mhm.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion, please, God, no. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did you vote? Okay. Anybody else vote?
It sounds like it.
I mean, did they want?
Who was opposed?
A
There was
negative
one.
subcommittee.
Everybody else was in favor?
Okay, we rarely meet, I'll volunteer.
Right.
Okay. Did everybody vote?
I think you have unanimous.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
I think.
Not,
Do we-
not enthusiastic, but
Can I do one follow-up?
Yes.
Can I see a hand of, say, 3 people that are interested in being on the subcommittee?
It was so painless last
It
time.
is painless, and you
Yeah.
meet people that are
Okay.
interested.
Yeah.
Let's make it all the women. Right.
Who was the third person?
Jackie.
I'm sorry.
Jackie Whitsitt.
Jackie, Katie, and Jen.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, Ryan. We just didn't have enough people here to
We've been making.
move forward on it. Okay, is there anything else in the manager's report,
Nope.
Ryan?
No, thank you.
Okay. Whew, how hard does this, okay, quarterly financial report, the lovely Christie.
Jackie, let me ask.
Yes.
Are you guys here to, did you miss public comment? You
No, they
stayed
were there.
So you guys?
No.
Okay,
No, we just wanted to be paying attention.
okay.
Oh, they were here really early.
Yeah, they were.
Like,
Everyone.
Okay, Christie has the floor, everybody.
You guys are so excited to talk about budget again.
Yeah!
It's good to have a Jen. Yeah, you're not getting me to go.
Okay, but you know, you just did. That's right.
I get that.
I'll take it. Okay, now, this is, just a quarterly financial update. If you remember on the format itself, I know those numbers are kind of small. I'll see what I can do to expand them. Zoom, sorry. Why does it make it so hard? Okay. Try that. Apologies. Anyway, so we'll try to do this, but, you guys, let's see if I can do this.
While we have the time, I want to bring up a suggestion that Auden brought up of the Holy Cross alternative energy for your electric, for your house. I signed up for it a few months ago, and I am happy to announce that my electric bill has only increased by $6 each of the months, and I'm fully renewable.
Yay.
Yeah, so thank you for that heads up, because Holy Cross is not advertising that enough. It's so easy to sign up, everyone. You go to holycross.com, and then you don't even have to sign into your account. You just scroll down and you pick the renewables, type in your email address, your home address, and then you get to choose between the 3 options of solar, hydro, or wind, and kabamo.
Could somebody send us an email reminding us to do that, or suggesting it, because by the time I go home and it's tomorrow, because it sounds way too easy. Okay, Christie is back to having the floor.
Yeah, sorry for the technical problem here. But so I'm on the revenue side of the page, on the general fund. This is your budget, or excuse me, sorry. This is your actual amount on the first one, and your budget is the next one down. And, so we're looking at our taxes. You look at, property tax, we usually get most of that in the spring, that makes a lot of sense. The only thing that I see as a problem there is we have an abatement for $28,000 this year, pretty high abatement for this town. But, so we'll probably look at being about 28,000 under what we could have collected, but still within our budget range, because we didn't budget the full amount.
Excuse me, did you say abatement?
Abatement, yes. That's when somebody, a taxpayer, goes to the county and says, hey, I just don't think this is right, what you charge me or what you say my value of my property is, and they're successful, they win that. So then they give them the taxes back,
Oh.
and then we have to then re-mill the next
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you look for big abatements because like, I mean, when you're in oil and gas kind of industry, it can be very large. But in this situation, it's 28,000.
And that was a single property taxpayer?
I did not look into it. Usually I just get that information in total. But most likely, I mean, I would say, but I haven't confirmed that. When we look at specific ownership taxes based upon the economy, we're running right at half of the budget for June 30. Sales tax running at 45.5%, which by the way is what we usually collect as of June. So that looks like fairly well. We may be a little under budget. This still remains to be seen, maybe 50,000 under budget, but we'll still monitor that closely. Post sales tax is a little bit more because remember this sales tax we have other sales tax and then the post sales tax we get specifically only from the state. So they're a little bit different collection cycles, but still looking really good there. Lodging looks at 45%, but I'm still thinking we're gonna get it in. Cigarette tax. 29,000 is the maximum according to Tabor we can collect, so that's it for this year. And we may, looking at how much we collected in the prior year on the final basis, or I mean, this year for the final basis and for this year, we may have to go and extend that that gap where we don't charge people, and I know Jeff's working on that to bring back the council soon. The franchise fees they usually get those in at the end of the year.
Chrissy, what is ownership tax?
Specific ownership is related to your automobile. Your, you know, paying for a car, licensing.
Oh,
And it's
interesting.
based upon a percentage of the mill levy rate compared to the total percentage of the levy rate for the entire amount of the taxing entities of a particular area.
Thank you.
So then, we go on to licensing and permit, not too much those come in June, December. Water fund is running pretty good, actually, on the revenue side, a little bit more. So water services, $335,000, that's all of people's water bills. It looks like we're running low, but really that doesn't include most of our summer months. So we expect to get still most of our money in on the second half of the year. Our tap fees and meter sales, we still have to do an entry here on, for the habitat that we're reimbursing from the general fund, for somewhere probably in the range of 30,000-ish for some of those units for tap fees, because we agreed to help them with that. But, so that'll bump that number up. So other than that, I think we're running right where we would think we would need to. There, on the expenditure side, right at 50% on budget, and that includes taking out that amount that is reimbursed to the general fund. So, so we're running good on our water fund this year. Okay. Any questions on?
Any questions?
Okay.
Thanks, Christy.
You're welcome.
Good job.
I was thinking too on the water, it rained and rained and rained, and now it's dry and dry and dry.
Yeah.
So we'll see, right? All right.
Okay, item 7A, Resolution 33, a resolution of the town referring to the eligible electors of the Town Council of Basalt at the coordinated election to be held November 5, a ballot issue regarding the town's general operating mill levy. Jeff Conklin.
Thank you. This resolution is the culmination of a lot of discussion here. This is to submit to the electors a ballot question to approve the general operating mill levy at 5.957 mils, which is the mill levy rate that we are currently at. If approved, this ballot question would also authorize that rate to be moved up and down, but not to exceed that amount. And it would also de-Bruce the mill levy, which is to allow the town to retain all revenues generated from the mill levy, notwithstanding Tabor revenue limitations. And I think most of those issues we've discussed in more detail, so I think I'll just keep it short. And if there are any questions, happy to answer them.
Guys, women, any questions on this? Is this no, it's not anything. Okay. We do need a motion.
Mayor, I move that the town council.
What are we actually being asked to
Hello,
approve
Bill.
here? No. And again, we understand what we're doing, but are we being asked tonight to approve the language as articulated in Article 2?
Yes, so that would then appear on the fall ballot.
Okay, could we discuss that a little bit more? Because quite
Sure.
frankly, I read it and it seemed incomplete and confusing, but it's perhaps designed to be that way. Namely, what's that?
Hopefully not.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, again, we're proposing that we will increase taxes by 740,000. That, I understand, reflects the rate at which property taxes would be collected at 2.52 and the difference between 2.52 and 5.957.
Right.
And so this is a statutory requirement that compels us to frame it this way.
Yeah.
Even though there is no increase in taxes. We are not increasing taxes.
Yeah.
Is there no way around this to
No,
put
I'll-
that at the end
No,
rather than
I'll-
the beginning? To change the paragraph so that we say, we're not raising taxes, but, or we're not changing the mill levy, but.
Welcome to
Sure,
Colorado.
I'll speak to that. So this is a requirement under Tabor, and
Every
that
question.
anytime there's a Tabor tax question, that it be phrased in this manner. So that 740,000 is the first year estimate of the revenue that would be generated from the tax. And again, as you said, it would be the difference between the low point and what we're approving, the 5.957.
Right.
There's a requirement that Tabor ballot questions begin in this manner and include that first year estimate. I think from a policy perspective, the reason is it's so, voters have a good idea of what we're talking about in terms of a tax increase. And here it has to be phrased as a tax increase,
Because the
just
city
because
tells us
it's-
it has to be.
right, because it does. And so we tried with the language to make it as clear as we could that, including, there's a parenthetical that says, hey, this is the amount we levied last year as well. So
I
it's,
saw
it's,
that.
it's not, when you just read it, it doesn't read as a straight tax increase. And in addition to that, we wanted to provide some color as to what that tax revenue would be used for. So those bullet points with speaking to a few of the town's services were included as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this was ballot language that Ryan and I and Christy and Dee and Bill all worked on. And but yeah, to go back to where you started, the way it is phrased is based on a Tabor
I
requirement.
don't have a choice about that.
Well,
Okay.
can I say one thing though too on that, is that we said at the current rate, at the same rate as last year. Try to clarify that, but that was the best that we felt like we could do for people.
Yes, Auden.
This is the
Thank
continued,
you for asking for the floor, by the way.
see how I've learned?
You're so good.
This is a continued deviance and weirdness and trouble with Tabor. And it's incumbent on us as individuals, though not as a council, to get the word out on this. And we need the help of the media to explain it to people. Because, if the community says, oh, I don't want a tax increase, and votes no, when it's not a tax increase, it's just providing the services we have, that's a tragic misunderstanding of the issue. So we really have to work on this.
Did you have something, Katie?
Well, to follow up on that point, do we have a plan for how we as a town can communicate that message in a very legal and unbiased fashion?
I'll have to defer, we get into election law after tonight theoretically.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty limited, but Jeff, you wanna?
So this was, this resolution appears on the agenda tonight and not earlier, because this is basically the last date by which we need to approve this language to get it to the county clerks to appear on the ballot. And so there are campaign finance laws that would kick in once that's approved that would preclude the town from, spending money and advocating on behalf of, to approve this particular ballot question from this point forward. So that was kind of one of the reasons why it appears now. But certainly individual counselors can, in their own time, just
With no
in their own
expenditure
opinion.
of public funds.
Right.
The one
Advocate.
thing that I remember from past municipal and government elections is that there can be an information sheet. Just plain old information sheet. We cannot advocate in any way, but we can say, this is what it is. And I would hope that we will do that, so, anyway. But as far as a campaign and advocating for a yes vote, that's just gotta be a campaign committee outside of, government resources.
And I understand that. I'm just asking because this language as you're describing can be confusing and it's verbose to describe something that's relatively simple, at least from my standpoint here. If we as a town can, again, legally, not spending any money, make this easier.
I know Susan reminded me of this, but one thing that, you might remember this with, I guess it was last year, I think the town adopted a few resolutions supporting certain ballot measures, encouraging people to vote in favor of them. And that could be something we could do here as well.
Right.
But otherwise, certainly, making sure that people understand the question and perhaps creating a fact sheet to the extent that we can within the law. I think that would be something we'd want to do.
Yes.
Couple more comments. Just on the details of the second full paragraph then, by virtue of the language that we have, it says we can raise the rate up and down, up and down, up and down as much as we want. Because we have voter approval, This will remove us from future Tabor, whatever conflict?
Yep.
Okay. And we have the clause that says, and spend such revenues notwithstanding. This is the de-Bruce clause, yeah?
Yes.
Got it. So forevermore, we will be able to raise or lower to a maximum of 5,957 unless we go to the voters again and seek a higher mill.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay, on the question of communication, I mean, this is not a huge surprise that as of tonight, we can no more communicate with town resources. So what's our plan? I mean, has this been delegated to the finance committee? Or how do we discuss this and when do we discuss it, if we discuss it at all?
My understanding is it would need to be, basically staff is hands-off. Council is able to, individually form, a committee that, can work on this along with, folks from the community that might be advocating for it as well. But that just needs to be separate and apart from this organization. I think that conversation needs to be taken up,
But so
not in this forum, but, outside.
and presumably if two or more counselors get together to have this conversation, it needs to be noticed.
It's correct.
Three or more.
Three.
So two of you can
Three
get
or more,
together.
sorry, more than two.
More than two, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, is there a motion? It's been so long. Oh, no.
It's a public hearing.
It is not, is it?
No, it's a resolution.
Oh, it's a resolution. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move town council adopt resolution number 33, series of 2019.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, guys. Alrighty, resolution 34, resolution of the town endorsing the declaration of a climate emergency and requesting regional collaboration on an immediate just transition and emergency mobilization effort to restore a safe climate. So first, I need to give credit to Katie for her impassioned plea for us to put this on the agenda and consider passing it. I think it's super important. I think everybody is starting to get this, no matter from whence they sprung. And I just want to thank Katie and also to thank Auden for his ongoing pressure on these issues, never failing, always there. And so I'm going to let Katie, I think, introduce this a little bit more, unless you want Ryan to go first.
Well, I know that Ryan had something that he wanted to
You want me to
describe
just
and
kick
share.
off and then you guys
Yeah.
can fill in? Okay. So basically, as the mayor pointed out, the declaration does endorse a declaration of climate emergency. The town over the last several years has pursued ways to reduce our carbon footprint, ways to improve some of our town facilities and things like that. We have a green team that helps guide us through that at the direction of council, and so this is something that we're on board with, but I think this kind of steps it up a bit and tries to increase awareness. So basically, my understanding of the history of this dates back to I believe it's the Paris agreement that was signed in 2016 by a number of countries. There were 175 countries that signed on to it, basically calling for widespread action on climate effects and the warming of our planet. And so basically this is asking for a widespread mobilization similar to that we saw in World War II, where everybody had a common goal and common interest, and that is an appeal to governments and agencies beyond just our town. It goes up the chain to state and federal and even international. And so that in Little Basalt, we're trying to make a big statement about how we feel about what's going on with the climate. And so one of the other things that's in here, it talks about as you shift, the energy economy, making a just shift. And so what that means is making sure we're bringing people along and providing new opportunities, employment opportunities, education, and the like, so that transition is made smoother. And then what we do locally is a commitment to educating our residents and making sure that they understand what we're doing and then what, you know, the emergency essentially is worldwide. Also helping to catalyze that just transition that I referred to and helping people along to a new or transitioned economy. And then also trying to get full community participation. And, you know, I think ways for us to try to educate and get more participation, you know, is utilizing our green team. You know, we have some of this architecture in place already, and so it's sort of double down on our efforts from where we've been. And then once again, it really emphasizes the need to call on other institutions, our partner institutions in the state and beyond, to join with us. So that in a nutshell is where we are with it, and I think a couple of the council members did have some statements on it as well, but.
Katie?
Sure. Well, I feel like I kind of outlined everything a few weeks ago, but just kind of giving an update on the numbers. Looking at it yesterday, the spreadsheet that lists every entity that has adopted this climate emergency throughout the world, there's about 969 that have adopted this similar resolution, of which 26 are in the United States. So that's kind of, I don't know, kind of telling that the largest carbon emitter on the planet is so far behind, but I feel like this is a great step forward. Towns or cities the size of New York City all the way down to populations as small as 600 are getting behind this climate emergency and taking action within their community, but also sending a collective message to our federal government saying this is first and foremost on our minds, and we must take significant action so that we can create a planet that children, grandchildren, and all living things have a chance. And we know our window is closing, and we must make this first and foremost. And I want to thank this council, because since I brought it to this council, every single one of you has been so supportive and wanting to not only adopt this, but to take significant, meaningful action. So thank you all for that.
Can I ask you to talk?
So, you know, we released a climate action plan through the Green Team now probably 2 years ago. And one of the goals, one of the first stated goals, was advocate for 100% clean energy by 2030, and it involved pushing on Holy Cross, our utility. Well, that pressure actually helped Holy Cross, because they, leadership there was able to say, look, we've got ski resorts, we've got towns, municipalities looking for clean energy, and Holy Cross announced yesterday or the day before that they would meet their 2030 goal of 70% clean power a decade early, and that means they'll probably achieve 100% or definitely far beyond 70% by mid-2020s. So this work has already happened, you know, through the Green Team's good work, Susan and Sarah's help. We changed codes. Our codes were archaic, and we upgraded them. We put in a fast charger, which is pretty remarkable, actually, an electric vehicle fast charger. Right now, there's only one that isn't a Tesla charger between here and Denver. There's going to be another one, but that's a major thing for a small town. We've audited buildings and retrofitted them, including this building. We participated, most importantly, in Colorado Communities for Climate Action, which pushed on issues like the zero emission vehicle standard, and that passed. And so we've done a lot, and this emergency declaration will optically give more force to it, but also enable us to, in the community, highlight this issue as something that's going to be a priority. So yeah, Katie, I really appreciate your leadership on this, and everyone else's support, and I look forward to the different things we'll be doing to roll this out with budget support and staff support and so forth in the next year or two.
we're gonna be coming back and back and back to report on how far we're getting with this, so, I think we're committed, and I'm hoping that the ones who come after us are equally committed to this. But Katie, did you wanna make a motion?
Yes. Mayor, I move the Town of Basalt Council adopt resolution number 34, series of 2019.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Good job, girlfriend.
Thank you, thank you.
Excellent work. Okay. Public hearing and second reading of ordinance 17, an ordinance of the town providing for a supplemental appropriation for the year ending December 31, 2019, related to the voluntary refund of over-collected revenues from the town's general operating mill levy and repayment of the affordable housing line of credit. Christie and Jeff.
I took it last time, so
Ryan.
you wanna, just pick up where I left off?
Sure. Okay, so as we reviewed last time, on Exhibit A, all the different changes in the budget that were reflective of the two, transactions, for one being the COPs / the Tabor refund, and getting that Tabor refund off our liability portion of our books, and funding those with COPs. And then the second part of that is the affordable housing, and selling the Shinemount Way, and using the proceeds from that, remaining proceeds after all expenditures, to repay our line of credit. So there's one piece of this I wanna just note is, when you look at the bottom, our change in fund balance, or actually our new fund balance, is noted down there, after these two transactions is 4.3 million in our general fund. This is on a budgetary basis. It's completely different than our audited financials on the front side of our audited financials, because remember, our audit is reported in two different types of methodologies. There's a business basis, which is called the government-wide financial statements, and then there's our budgetary basis. So I just want to note that I'm talking on a budgetary basis, what that looks like, and how we budget for the town, because that's what's pertinent to an ordinance for budget. But there's two different ways to look at it. If you look at it from a business side, you're really trading just one debt for another. I mean, in some ways, it's a lease, technically, and a debt, but still. I mean, you can kind of look at it differently that way. And then on a government-wide or a business basis, you're trading an asset for cash. But because we're on a cash basis, on our budgetary, the way we budget, it has a huge impact on our fund balance from that basis perspective. I hope that helps to clarify too, some of the confusion around why that would have changed our fund balance so drastically.
Okay, questions of Christie? I keep thinking Jen's on the phone.
I got a crown between
bless
our
you,
morning
yeah.
budget meeting and
Ew.
now.
And it's a waking up.
It's now a numbing.
We're almost over, Okay,
Excuse me.
questions of Christie? Motion?
Madam Mayor.
Oh, it's a public hearing, I even circle it. It's a public hearing, we'll open it at 6:57-ish. Anybody in the public have any comments regarding this item?
I'll give you guys congratulations on handling it the way you have. It's a difficult issue. Me and my wife talked about it. We're gonna give our money back to the town. You guys know what to do with it.
Thank you.
For the vote of confidence.
Oh,
My name is Glenn Drummond, and I live at 1400 East Valley Road.
thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn. Thanks, Glenn.
Nice job.
Thanks. Okay, now,
I would only comment in advance of the vote that I intend to vote in favor of ordinance number 17 of 2019, which basically performs the necessary administrative function of approving the supplemental appropriation for this year. But I do want to note that I voted against ordinances 15 and 16 because I believe that the decision to incur debt for the purpose of refunding property tax should have been put to the voters. And
Thank
so
you.
with that, I rest my case.
okay, really? Motion?
I'm not gonna, I just wanted to note that I am gonna vote no, but I do it not out of malice for anybody, but just that I generally felt the same way, and so I'm just gonna vote no. But I understand where everybody's coming from.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move the town council adopt ordinance number 17, series of 2019 on second reading.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, opposed.
That was a quick change.
Hey, I've been in meetings since 8 a.m. I'm not functioning at a high level.
Not take it back. You can't take it back.
You just said no and you said yes.
The record shows I voted for it.
Oh my God. I love us. We're so cute.
So you did vote yes.
But still, people heard you.
No,
That you're against.
the spirit was. It was no.
It was not no, it was yes.
Clarify that.
Okay, whoa. I think this day has been long enough. Okay, public hearing. It's a public hearing and second reading of ordinance 18, an ordinance of the town amending chapter 16, zoning of the municipal code to provide for the regulation of wireless communication facilities in the town. So exciting.
Okay, at first reading, I gave a lengthy but lively presentation.
Says you.
To
Go on.
wireless communication facilities. So I will try to keep it a little bit shorter here on second reading, but do want to reiterate the background as to why this is in front of you. And that is that earlier this year, the FCC issued an order that preempted state and local government regulation of wireless communication facilities in a few different ways. In wireless communication facilities, there are generally 4 types: your traditional tower, your alternative tower structure, which might be something like a fake tree, your small cell facility, which is kind of like a box that is used to deploy, wireless signal, and a base station, which is more of an antenna-like structure. So that order said that small cell facilities are permitted uses in all zone districts. It said that small cell facilities, alternative tower structures, and base stations are permitted in the right-of-way. And it also, that order said that all applications for wireless communication facilities have to be processed within 90 days or else they're deemed approved. So that was an impetus to bring forward this ordinance to get certain regulations on the books for the town that include design standards. They include special review standards related to those things that are designated as special uses, and they create a process to allow the town to timely process these types of applications. And generally, the goal of these regulations is to help minimize the visual impacts from wireless communication facilities, make sure they're appropriately cited, and otherwise to make sure that the town's in a good position to regulate wireless communication facilities. So with that,
You don't want to highlight that we put yellow under
Oh, that's right. And as Susan reminded me, in your packet, we highlighted a few changes that were made from first reading. I think they generally speak for themselves, but, and then also within the packet, I forgot to mention this, that there are pictures of each of the different types of wireless communication facilities. There's, we're in the packet on first reading and are in there again. And with that, I'll stop and see if there are any questions before public comment. That wasn't as lively? I
No,
know.
it's boring. Okay, this is public hearing opened at 7:03. Is there anyone in the public that has comment regarding this lively item? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Council, comments, questions, motions?
I would like to note that there are other municipalities that are interested, that are looking at our language from this packet in Michigan. Some clients of mine, I was discussing about 5G, and they said, that's amazing, we want to introduce this in our town, in our county. And so, again, how you start a movement is by bringing on and then talking about it. And so with that, I move that the town council adopt ordinance number 18, series of 2019 on second reading.
Thank you.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Was that a,
I'm in.
okay. It sounds like, yeah, wow. Okay, Resolution 35, a reso of the town approving an equipment lease purchase agreement with the NHB Bank for a street sweeper.
We would like to table this discussion to September 10th, if we could. We got the lease documents in late, that we couldn't get it into the packet, so we wanna give you guys a chance to review them, but.
I make a motion to table this till September 10th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. I guess we have an executive session. Could someone read the motion into the record so that folks know why we are going into executive session?
Mayor, I move the town council enter executive session for a conference with our attorney for purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions in accordance to CRS 24-6-4024B, specifically to discuss 2019 CV 030183, Clayson Quiet title action.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are in executive session, so we need to shut her down, Ryan, with the dental floss.
Do we need to bring him back in, or can we go ahead and shut?
I think we can shut it down, there's not gonna be any action.
Okay. You need to go. We don't need you.
You'll, yeah.
Put it on your face.
Yes. Jenna, do you have